Dial M for Murder from 1954, directed by Alfred Hitchcock, starring Ray Milland, Grace Kelly, Robert Cummings. One of Hitch's many, many amazing movies. But the reason I put this on my list was our sort of shared love of my mom and I of just murder mysteries. Like we've bonded over this. And frankly, this genre has kind of become more of a family genre. But I think it started really with my mom getting into it. I think a lot of it comes down from the fact that all her life has been a voracious reader, and mystery novels and all kinds of novels were a huge part of her growing up. I always remember growing up, she would finish like 2 3 books in a week, and
Uh-huh.
the Sunday trip to the library to rent the next 8 was always kind of a fun thing, even though I'm sure she regrets that none of this came to me or my sister. We are terrible readers, don't care. I wish
Uh-huh.
we got that from her. But yeah, I think to me this movie symbolizes so much of my mom stands for, which is the attention to detail. um just appreciation for that, and kind of paying attention to every nook and cranny of a story. And it's sort of detail in life, but also detail in when you are sharing stories, and that's what this movie is so brilliant at. I think this movie also represents my mom's attitude a little bit, which is that you look at everybody with some sort of humanity and
Mm.
kindness.
Mm-hmm.
And that's sort of what Hitchcock is doing in this movie as well. That, yeah, bad things are happening, but you look at everybody with some level of kindness and humanity, like I said, but also just gray. There are no, I mean, there are villains for sure out
Right.
there, but for the most part, people are just trying to figure it out and stumbling along the way and making terrible choices and being selfish when they shouldn't be, and such. So I don't know, that's sort of the deeper meaning that's always struck with me, and my mom stands for that.
Mm-hmm.
I try to be better in that area every day, every week. I don't think I haven't been able to match my mom's worldview of kindness. But I always think of that when I think of this movie. But apart from that, I just think this movie is such a banger, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
you are trapped in this one apartment pretty much for the entire time. This dense dialogue, a lot of story to unpack, connections of all sorts spanning over time, but you're totally captivated. And very few people can actually do that but Hitchcock. My memory of this movie is me, my mom, my sister, my dad all huddled up watching it for the first time. I want to say about 10 years ago together.
Oh, okay.
I'd seen it before, but I
Uh-huh.
hadn't seen it with them.
Mm-hmm.
She hadn't seen it at that time either. But it was such a, edge of your seat, pin drop silence.
Yeah.
In fact, I remember my dad maybe put some chips in his mouth and he got yelled at because he was
Making too much noise.
making too much noise with the chips. So yeah, such a great memory of all of us bonding, but especially my mom and I, right? Really, we talk about Grace Kelly and the dresses and the phone
Mm.
calls and such, randomly since we've watched this movie. I wouldn't put this movie as my top 3 Hitchcock movie. There are others that I prefer, Rebecca or Foreign Correspondent or Vertigo and such. But this is definitely an entertaining one. I don't come back to this movie very often when I'm like doing a repeat of
Mm-hmm.
Hitchcock movies. That said, it's amazing, and now this movie is tied to my mind with just my mom's memory.
Oh, yeah, yeah. So that's cool. I'm also a big Hitchcock fan like you are too. And my opinion on the movie is very similar to what you just said. It's not one of his best, but even his like middling movies are still great.
Right.
It's Hitchcock.
Exactly.
I saw this movie for the first time actually in a Hitchcock class that I took in college because
Oh,
it's a known film of his, but it's not one of like the more classic
top
work.
tier.
So yeah, when I first got into him in high school, this is not one that I had seen. So I got to see it in a theater, which was cool. And actually, this movie was made for 3D, which I've not
Oh,
seen this in 3D. And I remember the teacher kind of apologizing. They were trying to track down a 3D print of the film, but weren't able to get it. And I've always wanted to see this in 3D. that one scene where she's the killer's attempting to kill Grace Kelly, and she's kind of like reaching out over the table she's being thrown on towards the camera. And I'm just, even when I was rewatching it for this podcast, I was like, oh, that must look so interesting in 3D. Like that would be the one scene I feel like would be, Hitchcock using that medium.
I had no idea. Is that why that some of the very few exterior shots in the movie feel really weird? It almost feels like the outside is sort of being played as like a screen background recording. And I was like, why, you only have like literally 2 shots outside. You could have just gone out and shot, when like the guy's coming back home, the key mix up and what have you. But it looks like a fake background exterior shot. So, okay, maybe it has something to do with the whole 3D thing.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, because 3D, this movie came out when that craze was actually kind of dying off, and the film was sort of bombing in 3D, and then they had to go and pull all the 3D prints and like put it out there in 2D. So it's actually hard to find in 3D, though sometimes in LA they'll have a screening. I've missed them when they've happened, and I really do want to see this in 3D. But yeah, like my thoughts on this are very similar to yours. Like kind of a lot of edge of your seat stuff, good suspense, kind of locked room in a sense, thriller. The movie was based, I think, on a stage play, so you can tell because the whole thing is in an apartment. But I think that adds to the suspense of the one location, a couple players in it, and 2, it's not like a big cast, so you're really kind of invested in what's going on with these characters. So yeah, if your mom was into like murder mysteries and things, I think this is a great kind of Hitchcock film that fits into that genre. So I'm not surprised that she liked the movie then when you watched it.
Yeah, this is one of her top 3. I don't know why. Maybe so much of this is also timing, right? When you come to the Hitchcock movies, when you come to the canon of any director, so it could be a little bit of that too. But the last thing I want to say is that I love that she and I can bond on something like this genre, which I don't know how many mothers and kids sort of have. And that sort of speaks to, once again, my mom, I think, where she was not afraid to talk about really anything and everything. And maybe that's why I even feel that kind of friendship sort of relationship with him, because all around me, I saw there was kind of like, oh, these are mother and kid topics versus these aren't. I don't think I had much of that. We talked about anything and everything. And that's why even a genre like this is part of our connection, which I don't know most people would be able to say that.
Right, in terms of that genre. Yeah, that's cool. Very cool. Hey there, it's Alex. If you like the review and discussion Karan and I just had, make sure you subscribe to our channel, Movies That Shaped Us, to get full episodes. Every other Wednesday, Karan and I cover a topic around important people, places, events, and moments in our lives, and then explore it through 3 of our favorite movies. Subscribe right now, or follow our podcast on Spotify or Apple Podcasts via the link in the description below. Hope you join us for the journey.